So today is actually, well, really what we kind of decided to call this overall class, this session of 3 master classes. We call it make your 2021 better than your 2019. So we wanted to skip right over 2020 and just kind of, we want to give you information to make your life, make it at its best. So today we're talking about sleep and energy. And I'm going to mainly be going over some things that I personally found has worked well for me. So like, I mean, this is actually, especially, I want to give you kind of prime examples of how I've utilized some of these strategies, or how I came about some of these strategies. And some of this is going to be a little bit of carryover from last week too, because, you know, we talked earlier about how your diet, you know, like what you eat, plays a big role in your health. You know, that gets broken down. And if you don't have those nutrients, your body can't heal and repair. When you're sleeping, that's when your body does most of its healing and repairing. So I'm starting off with last week I started off with an article I read the week before, and this is another article I found this week, and I found it was interesting. And it's relevant to what we're talking about today, but it's also relevant to the world. So I thought I'd go over that. This is now, even though the title doesn't mention it, this is really about the COVID vaccine. So let me there we go. So the article is called, actually, I just read it this past week. I read it on Friday. And it was the 2 things you need to do before getting vaccinated. Again, this is called to talk about the COVID vaccine. And this is a study. It was done out of Ohio State University. Now, I'm not commenting on whether you should or should not get a vaccine. I'm just saying this is what this article related to. And what it looked at is, what is the immune system response when getting the vaccine? What are some things you should do to enhance it? And this is kind of previewing a little bit for next week too, when we talk about more about how to get a better responding immune system itself. But the 2 things that they found, that the study found, was actually that played a big role in how the immune system responded, and actually gave the best response, was getting proper sleep. So they recommend, especially a couple days before the vaccine, get full nights of sleep, quality sleep. That's a little different than quantity. And then also too, getting some exercise, getting the body moving. One of the things the studies have shown now too is the brain works a little bit like a battery. It needs to get charged. How it gets charged is through the body moving. So we're designed moving to be active. Okay, so this is actually one of the comments in the article about the study. You need to come here, dear? Yeah. Okay. So what this this was an MD PhD talking about the study itself, and it said sleep loss is linked to fluctuations in immune processes important to producing antibodies. That's why you get the vaccine, to get the antibodies so your body can destroy the virus. Sleep deprivation may cause an unhealthy fluctuation in the number of specific cells needed for generating antibody production. So really, simply what it means in a nutshell, if you're not getting the proper sleep, your immune system doesn't work as well. It can really tank. More severely sleep deprived, the more unfunctional your immune system is going to be. So, as kind of alluded to earlier, sleep is important for the body to work right. Your body does most of its healing and repair while you're sleeping. So, another thing when we're talking about adjustments, most people think that the adjustment ends when you get off the table. When the adjustment actually really settles in is when you're sleeping at night. So having a good night's sleep, especially on the nights of the adjustment, really important. And so when we look here, the purpose of the adjustment is to reduce the subluxation. And when you reduce the subluxation, you enhance your body's ability to heal and repair. So all this is designed, we talked about last week, having the right nutrients so your body can utilize the adjustment to heal and repair. We're talking about more timing. Again, what is the right, how can we actually enhance your timing so your body actually has the best healing and repair? So if you don't remember anything else, hopefully you remember this. I think I said this about 4 times already. Healing and repair occurs in the body while you are sleeping. So getting good quality sleep is important. The body also loves rhythm. I'll talk about that too, because rhythm, some of you should probably notice this, like if you start waking up at the same time every morning, you start waking up a couple minutes before the alarm clock goes off. And I know I've experienced that myself. I know I've talked to a lot of people that experience that. You start waking up like 2 or 3 minutes right before that alarm clock goes off, and your body's already primed. It's kind of already kind of waking up. So that's giving you an idea of that rhythm there too. So that rhythm actually applies to other things in life too. It actually applies to your adjustments as well. Because, so for example, if you are, say, like Monday and Tuesday at 10 a.m., and that's your adjustment schedule, your body is kind of primed like that, like right before the alarm clock. Your body will actually, it's ready. It'll actually utilize more of that adjustment. Whereas if you come in, for example, instead at a Tuesday afternoon, instead of Monday at 10 a.m., hey, that's a different schedule. Your body won't be able to utilize that adjustment quite as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about energy. So this is kind of a story that happened to be, got me interested in this. I really did not know much about nutrition until I kind of got into my fourth year of undergrad. And between my third and fourth year, during the summer, I had a friend of mine that we went to high school together with, and we decided to stay at the college for the summer. He sublet off one of my roommates, and he got the idea because we were working about 20 hours a week, and we're doing about a little less than 20 hours a week. We did a couple courses as well too. So he decided, hey, like since we have some extra time in that here, let's like really focus on eating right. Let's learn how to cook some really kind of cool things. So he got a couple different vegetarian cookbooks. I remember one was an Indian cookbook because we never cooked that way before. And he was like, hey, let's try this. I think this would be really cool. And at first we were both really excited about it. And so we were kind of decided, okay, we're going to go vegetarian for the whole summer. And as we start going along, after about the third or fourth week, I noticed my energy starting to drop and it wasn't really feeling very good. He was doing great. About 6 or so weeks in, my energy was completely tanked. I was not functioning very well. And yet he was doing wonderful. So I was wondering, like, what's going on here? Like, where, we had, if you looked at us, we were maybe about an inch difference in height. So pretty much the same height, same build, about the same weight at the time. And, like we were having two completely different responses to eating vegetarian. And so I say, okay, enough of this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to go out and buy a steak, going to cook it on the grill, and I'm going to eat it and see what happens. I woke up the next morning and I had just huge, abundant energy. I felt great. So I wondered, like, okay, why did he do so good on a vegetarian diet and I did so poorly? And so every meal we ate the exact same things. What's going on here in the body? Why is the body having two different responses? So when I was taking my nutrition course, something that came up and that was discussed was different blood types can respond differently to different diets. And you may have heard this even with, for example, even with the COVID-19. If you are type O, you actually have a lesser risk of severe reaction to COVID than if you're another type. So different blood types can respond differently to different diets too. So I found out that, because I'm type O, I found out type O tends to do better with a higher protein diet. So even though we were eating vegetarian and we were still, we ate a lot of vegetables they're higher in protein, I still was not getting the protein needs that I needed to actually have good energy. Now, if I'm a little smart at this, I could. I'm not against people being vegetarian or anything like that, but I could be. Now I'm a little smarter about how to do this. I could probably do that for a period of time. But I found that I do better. My body works better on a higher protein. I need a little more meat. And type O's, they tend to. That's kind of a trend that they've noticed. Type A's tend to do better on a more vegetarian diet. My wife is a type A. If she eats a lot of meat or a lot of protein, she doesn't do very well. So we actually have to have some different diets. Like she needs a high vegetable diet. I need a higher meat diet. So my point of bringing this up here is that if you're not eating the diet that's right for you or the way that's right for you, you're going to notice an energy drop. I just want to give that some thought. Now, there was a book called Eat Right for Your Blood Type. Not the most accurate look at this, but it did kind of bring up some good things. Like, I'm going to bring a slide from this. Like, for example, here, O, he called it, the guy that wrote it, he called it like O is the old blood type. He said it came from hunting tribes, and type A was for more agricultural growing, like agricultural farming tribes, and that's why A's tend to do better with that. And O's tend to actually have some more digestive enzymes that can break down higher proteins better. I don't think this 100% true. Actually, the research has shown that type A is actually older than type O. But B and A are newer types. And so I just wanted you to look at that. Now, a study, when I hear something, I kind of like, okay, I want to kind of try to assess it. So when I went through chiropractic college, and I kind of knew about this, I met a lot of people that were vegetarian. So I said, I'm just curious, like what type of blood type? I made sure that they're vegetarian because they felt better on a vegetarian diet, not because they were doing it for animal rights or whatever, but they noticed that their body worked better on a vegetarian diet. Out of about 27 people, I noticed about 22 were type A blood type. So what that means that type A is typically about 30 something percent of the population. I believe it's about 36% of the population is type A. So like, I mean, seeing like 22 out of 27, that's a big difference. So like, I mean, it kind of came to me, it's like, oh, okay. So it does seem to me that, hey, type A tends to do better eating a vegetarian diet, so I've noticed that with myself at home. And I've noticed that with my kids. I have one kid that's type A and one that's type O, and they kind of gravitate more towards those diets. Like, I mean, like type O, he likes meat, but not he likes meat. That's his thing that he likes, but his favorite. But he likes some vegetables too, but not too many. And my type A, or my blood type A, he is a grazer. He doesn't like to eat a big meal at once. He just kind of like to eat like small little, like small little fruits and that throughout the day, as opposed to eating meals. So that's another type thing. It's the thing we see with type A too. The type of when you eat actually just it's more grazing throughout the day, as opposed to type O's. They tend to like to eat bigger, smaller meals, maybe only twice a day, but bigger meals. So something to look at. It's something to look at. Okay, like based on this, it's like, oh, maybe I should try this for a week and see what happens. Like it's important to kind of know your body, how it works, because like everyone's a little individual. My point is like, hey, not everyone's the same. Not everyone fits under the same roof here. You got to figure out what works kind of best for you, and you can tell because you're going to be more energetic when you actually when you're actually doing things that are right for your body. Okay, so this is something else. I apologize for the blurry slide here, but something else that really made a difference in my life, and that was when I learned about the difference between what a true extrovert and a true introvert is. Most people think it's about how they get along with others. Like an extrovert, hey, they love talking to other people. An introvert is a little quieter. It's really how the body re-energizes itself, how it gets the energy back. An extrovert, they will get energy being around other people. An extrovert actually gets their energy back. Sorry, an introvert gets their energy back by being alone. So I kind of noticed this when I was at different seminars and that. They'd be, like 100 people in the room, and I'd be sitting all day, learning things. And I was like, why am I so exhausted? I feel like not just mentally drained, but I feel like physically drained at the end of the day here. I haven't done anything. I just sat pretty much the whole day. And that's kind of like, that's kind of how an introvert is. They lose energy when they're around a lot of other people. So an introvert, it's kind of like they wake up in the morning and they have a whole bunch of coins in their pocket, and then every interaction that they're having, they're giving out, a coin. An extrovert, they wake up with no coins in their pocket, and with everyone that they talk to, they're gaining a coin. So coins are kind of a metaphor for like, for energy. So, I kind of realized, when I heard this was kind of a revelation for me, because I kind of always knew it, but I didn't really realize it to apply it to my life. I need, at the end of the day, I need to make sure I give myself some quiet time so I can kind of regenerate. Often, my Fridays, I have off. They're often not dealing with a whole lot of people. I was kind of funny because sometimes, especially on a Monday, people ask, hey, well, how was your weekend? And, sometimes my weekend is like, I had a wonderful weekend. I was really energized. I didn't talk to a single person other than my family. I didn't talk to a single person all weekend. And to an extrovert, that would be horrifying. Like they would hate that concept. To an introvert, the other people that are introverts would get that and be like, yeah, that sounds like a good weekend. It's not that we don't like talking to other people. It's actually how we get our energy back, though. So, anyway, this is kind of like so maybe if you can realize, hey, how you are, and you kind of look at this and like, what do you need to do to get more energy? Like 2/3 of the people are going to be extroverts. Only 1/3 of people are introverts. So yeah, there's more of us, there's more of those extroverts and introverts, and in general, before 2020, life seemed to be a lot easier for extroverts, but yeah, this year has been a tough year for extroverts. I feel for them. So I want to go briefly because I do want to kind of end this class. I want to kind of make sure I'm ending these classes before 7 o'clock. I want to make sure I give you some time, guys, time to do what you need to do at night. But so I want to cover two energy things. I want to kind of get into a little bit of sleep. Now, we do have I'm not going to about the actual like things like pillows and sleeping positions and things like that. We actually have that on a workshop already. That's on our website. It's embedded right into our website itself. It's called Getting the Best Results. So it's the McCormick Chiropractic website. So it's www.mccormickchiro.com. At the top, there's tabs. You look About Us, say Getting the Best Results, and that'll take you to the page there, and you can actually watch the website there. Or that video there. If you haven't watched it, I recommend that you do, because the purpose of that is we want you to get the best results possible. About 10 minutes of that work, it's a 30-minute workshop. About 10 minutes of it is things like sleeping positions, and I think we go into some mattresses and things like that. So this is a little bit more about the functionality more of sleep and that. And this chart kind of shows you kind of like more the inverse relationship between two hormones in the body. Cortisol and melatonin. And so when we wake up in the morning, when we have that natural wake, like we're not getting waked up by an alarm clock, but we just kind of wake up naturally and we're kind of like, okay, good, I got a good refreshing sleep. We have that, that's actually, where our cortisol's high, our melatonin's low. So then what happens is we kind of get around at nighttime here, like say 9, 10 o'clock. Hey, our melatonin starts kicking up. And then right here, this is right when we want to go to sleep. We want, okay, got that? Okay, so this allows us to, we want to kind of get out of sleep here. So, and actually too, our cortisol starts dropping even lower. So we have this inverse relationship where we're tired and we're sleepy. When we have this inverse relationship over here, we're wide awake. That's why research has shown that we actually make better decisions later part of the morning, usually around 10 to 11 o'clock. That's when the best decision making happens. That's when students tend to do better on tests. So anyway, that's a little gem for you. But then what happens in like later on at night, we start getting towards the early morning is the melatonin starts dropping, cortisol starts rising. So couple things with this, like if this cycle gets off, then we have issues with sleep. So most common one is melatonin doesn't get produced. One of the things with that is electronics, screens, they shut down the melatonin production. Generally, any lights in general shut down the melatonin production. So like really after about 7, 8 o'clock, really you want to kind of, only have a few lights on. You don't want like a light or two on. You don't want to have like multiple lights on, like really super bright. You want to have lower lighting. If you're reading and you need some extra light to read, you can have more of a direct light so you can, so you can read. But you don't have a whole lot of extraneous lights on. The fewer lights on, and even especially the light you can dim a little bit, that you can see you have enough light to do what you need to do, but not abundance of light. That will allow for better melatonin production. Turning off the screens. I'm going to talk about like a more of a nighttime routine in a minute. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But a lot of these things that we do kind of like at night, they shut down the melatonin. And then we tend not to, tend to difficulty falling asleep, and we have difficulty staying asleep, because what happens is, hey, it bumps up here, but then because it doesn't go up that high, then it starts dropping. And usually it's kind of by 3 a.m., that's when it's kind of shut down. So that's why some people they're like, oh yeah, I fall asleep great, I'm going to sleep by 10 o'clock, but 3 a.m. I wake up and I have trouble falling asleep again after that. That's usually a melatonin issue. Melatonin supplements kind of somewhat work, but really where melatonin supplements work is when we have a raise in cortisol. And cortisol is elevated. Cortisol is a stress hormone, so we have a lot of stress in our life. Cortisol doesn't drop. Like some people, they're kind of just constantly stressed, so like their cortisol is always kind of, I don't know if you can see this cursor when I'm going across this here, the pointer, it doesn't drop like it's supposed to. It stays up high, and you have trouble falling asleep because the cortisol is so high. So give me an example of that. This is one ways to test cortisol. It's a spit test. And this test you can actually order online from labs. Because you don't have to go into a lab and that to do it. You can actually just get vials for different times of days, and then you spit them in it, and then you send it to the lab and measures your cortisol. Melatonin you can measure too. Melatonin's a little tougher. Melatonin's measured by urine. So what you want to see here in kind of this time frame here from 8 a.m. to midnight is we want to see that cortisol dropping. So the green area here on the graph, that would be a normal response. So this is person here that their blue is where the line is, way above the normal. So this is someone that's probably has a lot of stress in their life, and they're releasing a lot of cortisol, and there may be some medical issues too. This is one I picked up offline, so I don't exactly know the exact details of the case study, but I just want to give you an idea, hey, what this kind of looks like. And sometimes the cortisol can't drop like it's supposed to, and there's ways to handle that, non-medical ways to handle that. But I want to kind of give you an idea that, hey, like sometimes people I can look at this and be like, even I don't know the case, I'm like, this person's having trouble sleeping. They're not falling asleep and waking up again. They're having trouble falling asleep. So word I just learned probably about 3 weeks ago is this word here, doom scrolling. Never heard of it before. So this is actually the definition of the self-destructive behavior as we incessantly scroll through bottomless doom and gloom news for hours, sinking into despair. So this is something like, especially social media is like this. They're just looking through especially news programs and looking like all the bad things that are going on, and just like all the negativity, and really what a lot of stuff, some of the research is going to this now. They're finding that this is a kind of an addictive thing. This is hard. Once you start doing it, it's hard to kind of stop. So people got to do this and they'll start doing it for hours, and it'll be every day. And so it doesn't do people a lot of good, but also too, it really makes them if you're feeding your brain all that negativity all that time, it's hard to fall, it makes yourself hard to fall asleep. Also too, it's because you have the screens on all the time. I mentioned earlier, electronics, they shut down melatonin production, even though some of them have now some, I know my cell phone will mention this after 8 o'clock or something like that. It says this has a blue light filter. It does some, but it's still, because the type of light it is, it's still going to be reducing melatonin production. So doom scrolling is, if you want to know a little more about it, actually, a fellow chiropractor of mine from Maine, he actually just released a video about it. I think it's about 4 minutes long, and Dr. Connor put it on our Facebook for us. So if you want a little more about that, that was a little interesting video. So I want to talk a little more about wind down time. Wind down time is the time for midnight, because let me say this kind of to put it into context. Brain revs up very quickly, and that's meant for survival. That's meant for instant survival instincts. It takes a while, takes a long time for the brain to rev down or calm down. So, like, so a lot of us, like, we'll be watching, say some action movie or something like that. And like, we'll have these like flashing lights and like this will be going on. And it's like really stimulating our brains, especially like anything like our brains get mostly stimulated through the eyes. And like, so like, especially anything like with like action flashing lights, we hear the sounds of things exploding. Man, our brain, even though we're kind of a body where we might be more relaxed state, our brain is revved up by that. So it takes a while for a brain to rev down. So like people just say, oh, I watch that movie. Okay, they'll they have the TV right in the bedroom. They turn it off and they expect to fall asleep. Brain is too revved up to allow that to happen. So really what we want to do is really focus on like, things to do to calm the brain down. And I need to finish up really quickly here. So I want to kind of give you a couple things quickly. Is we want to really form like a bedtime routine. Something that kind of takes a little while, takes a half hour maybe or so, depending on what you need. People have different needs to actually slow their brain down. Relaxing music, reading a book. I know some people actually they like to declutter their bedroom, like they kind of make their bedroom a sanctuary, and they clutter and messiness and kind of creates more anxiety. So they're like, hey, I feel more at peace when I do that. Journaling is a great thing. Just getting your thoughts on a paper. It doesn't really matter what it is. That can be a wonderful thing too. I mentioned the dimming the lights. That's a big thing. Getting rid of the devices. That's a big thing. So really, a lot of the research shows no devices, no electronics for like the last hour before you go to bed. I know that might be hard for some people, but at least, hey, if you start at 30 minutes, I think that'd be wonderful for you. Okay, so I want to summarize things up because I know we want to, guys, I want to be done here a little bit right before 7. So a couple things I talked about. Are you eating right for you? Like, I mentioned a little bit about type O and type A. If you don't know your blood type, you can, I'll call your family doctor. Like they probably have that on file somewhere. Or when you get your next blood test, if you don't know, they can actually test it for you. If you donate blood, they will let you know right there too. So like, try it. See if you're type O, try to eat more high protein. See how you feel. If you're type A, try to eat more vegetarian. See how you feel with that. Talk a little bit about being introvert, extrovert. See how you can put yourself in a scenario more where you can re-energize. See how that works for you. I mentioned a little more about the cortisol melatonin relationship. I could do easily a whole half-hour workshop on that. So I just kind of scratched the surface on that. And then like some of the strategies for winding down. Like the wind down time is so important. You have to give yourself some time for that brain to calm down. One thing else to mention too, research has shown that after adjustment, cortisol drops. So that's kind of an interesting thing too. Okay, so next masterclass next week, we're talking about your immune system, how to upgrade that, how to get that functioning better at its best. Very important time to do that. I'm going to go some also to what's research on that, more specifics also to for COVID-19. I'm looking forward to that class. I think that's going to be really, really powerful. Hey, invite a friend to it. Also, I know we're going to have some replays. Gosh, when we get the replay out, email it to a friend. You don't have to be a patient to be a part of this group here. So I forgot to mention earlier, I thank Dr. Connor for checking the chats. I know he's kind of handling the chat things, and he actually learned how to print them all out so I can look at them later. But also too, you can always contact me. My email is drdarryl@mccormickchiro.com. And also too, these are ones here I've been making here. We've been doing different classes, through McCormick Chiropractic for years. A lot of times we used to go to businesses, or we used to go to charity groups, or different functions, and we used to talk. Now it's just kind of like putting it on Zoom, so it's like really kind of like the same idea, but same scenario, just like a little different format. So we're happy to talk to, if you have a business or a group, we can do a health or a safety class. We're happy to do that. So, and we have so much information that we love to share. And I thank you all for being on here because, I think this creates a good community. And I appreciated all the people last week said, hey, I was at, I saw your class, I got something from it. I know last week it was a little less meaty because we were kind of getting used to the format. I think we got a little bit more under control right now. And hopefully this gave you some good material. So please, I love your feedback. I love what worked for you. I want to see, like, if you try something and you get a response, I want to see how you did. So, and thank you so much for being here today, and hope to talk to you next week.